The war began with silence. Admiral Zytrak stood before the panoramic bridge window of the Vorth flagship Zathril, gazing at the sea of stars that shimmered across the void. Beneath that calm beauty, his fleet, 480 ships from 17 species, floated in perfect geometric formation. Discipline. Precision. The virtues of order. "Transmission complete, Admiral," said Commodore Rio, bowing slightly. "All captains acknowledge readiness." Zytrax's silver eyes reflected the shifting holographic schematics of the Terran fleet, 27 small vessels, some barely military grade. 27, he murmured, almost amused. A curious number for a civilization this desperate. Rio hesitated. "Their ship signatures are erratic. We've never recorded gravitational distortions like theirs. The analysts suggest that humans are unpredictable." Zytrax finished sharply. "Yes, I've read the reports. Unpredictable is a word inferior minds use when they fail to understand logic. Humans are simply chaotic creatures whose luck has run its course." He turned to the holographic map showing the Zorith expanse, a graveyard of asteroids orbiting a fading red giant, one of the most unstable sectors in the quadrant. The Terrans had chosen it deliberately. "They hide in debris, hoping to ambush gods," Zytrax said with quiet disdain. "Advance the vanguard fleet. Let's end this spectacle." Rio bowed again. "As you command." The alien armada began to move, a storm of blue and violet engine flares lighting the void. Across the expanse, aboard the UTN Resolute, Admiral Marcus Kane watched the same stars, though his bridge was smaller, darker, and humming with the low growl of overworked engines. The man's expression was calm, his uniform collar slightly open, his eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. Around him, his officers moved with the restrained precision of people who understood they might not survive the day. "Enemy fleet approaching Vector Alpha," reported Commander Liu. "Massive spread, they're tightening formation. Looks like they're building a wall." Kane studied the tactical display. The wall was nearly perfect, an elegant, symmetrical crescent of energy barriers and gun platforms. Beautiful in theory. Fatal in practice. 400 ships against 27, Liu muttered. "They could vaporize us in one volley." Kane allowed himself a faint smile. "Then we shouldn't give them a clean shot." He turned to his officers. "All ships engage stealth protocols. Power down non-essential systems. Maintain absolute silence." The lights dimmed as the Resolute's reactors fell to minimal output. One by one, the Terran ships disappeared into the asteroid field's shadows. Lieutenant Mason, the navigation officer, swallowed nervously. "Admiral, this spike drive calibration, we've never tested it under combat conditions." "That's what today's for," Kane said dryly. "If it works, we'll make history. If it doesn't, they'll never find the pieces." Nervous laughter rippled across the bridge. It helped. Humor always did when the abyss was staring back. Minutes stretched into hours as the Concorde fleet drew closer, unaware of the invisible Terran presence hiding in the rocks. Kane leaned over the console, studying gravitational data. The asteroid field was alive with micro-anomalies, ideal terrain for his plan. "Patience," he whispered. Commander Liu frowned. "Sir? Every species in that fleet thinks war is math. Predictable. Linear. They calculate trajectories, power ratios, shield thresholds. Humans don't calculate, we adapt. We gamble. That's what they never understand." He straightened, hands clasped behind his back. "Prepare gravity spikes. Target acquisition will be manual. I want synchronized strikes on my mark." "Yes, sir." The Concorde scouts entered the field first, sleek recon vessels scanning the darkness. One passed within 20 kilometers of an asteroid that seemed ordinary enough, until its surface rippled faintly, revealing the outline of a hidden Terran destroyer. The Resolute's crew held their breath. Kane's eyes never left the monitor. "Not yet," he murmured. The scout banked left, sensors sweeping the debris, and moved directly into the targeting reticle. Kane spoke softly. "Now." The destroyer fired once. A tungsten slug traveling at 20% the speed of light punched clean through the scout's hull. No explosion, just silence, followed by the faint shimmer of atmosphere escaping into the void. Across the Zathral's bridge, a sensor officer gasped. "Admiral! Scout 07 lost contact. No warp signature detected, it simply vanished." Zytrax turned slowly. "What coordinates?" "Near Sector 12B, asteroid field." He gestured to Reel. "Dispatch interceptors. Full scan. They can't hide forever." Reel obeyed, but unease crept into his voice. "Yes, sir." One by one, alien ships entered the asteroid belt. Their sensors swept space in widening arcs, but found nothing. Then another ship disappeared. Then a third. Panic spread. On the Zathral, the communication hub erupted with overlapping distress calls. "Enemy contact, unknown position, shields collapsing." Then static. Zytrax's claws tapped the console rhythmically, a subtle sign of agitation. "Explain." "No readings, sir. It's as if the humans phase in and out of real space." "Impossible. No species can." Before he finished, a holographic projection appeared, visual feed from a doomed frigate. In the final second of its recording, a human ship flickered into existence directly behind it, muzzle flashes bright as suns. Then the feed cut to black. Zytrax stared in disbelief. "They warp without signatures." Kane watched the chaos unfold from the Resolute. "They're blind now," he said. "Time to move." He issued orders in calm, precise tones. "Spike to point echo. Fire once. Jump again. Never stay still." Terran ships leapt through miniature folds in space, appearing and disappearing faster than Concord tracking could follow. Each re-entry left explosions blooming behind alien lines. Lou's eyes widened. "They have no idea what's happening." "Good," Kane said. "Let confusion do the killing for us." As the battle intensified, the asteroids themselves fractured from crossfire, tumbling through space like drifting knives. Human ships wove through them with reckless grace. An alien dreadnought locked onto the Resolute and fired a plasma barrage. The Terran ship pivoted sharply, using a tumbling asteroid as cover. The plasma struck the rock, vaporizing it, and the shockwave slammed into the dreadnought's own hull. "Return fire," Kane ordered. 2 rail slugs streaked forward, piercing the dreadnought's reactor. A white flash ended it. On the Zathral, Reel turned to Zytrax, panic breaking through his composure. "Admiral, our outer wings are collapsing. We've lost 40 ships already. They're tearing us apart." Zytrax's voice stayed low, almost whispering. "How are they navigating this chaos?" Reel stammered. "I don't know. They move as if they see patterns we can't." For the first time in 2 centuries of command, Zytrax felt something he didn't recognize: uncertainty. He forced it down. "Deploy gravity nets. Trap them. Once the field collapses, nothing will escape." Kane's sensors detected the shift immediately. The aliens were forming a containment shell. "Here it comes," Lou said. Kane nodded. "They're adapting. Good. Let's see how far they can stretch before they break." He stood, gaze fixed on the swirling red horizon where the dying star pulsed beyond the asteroid belt. "Signal all ships, phase to fallback coordinates Delta. Stay quiet, stay invisible." "Yes, sir." The Resolute's engines dimmed once more. The human fleet slipped into darkness, vanishing between gravitational ripples, leaving only debris and silence behind. On the Zathral, Zytrax watched his scanners sweep through empty space. No signatures. No targets. Only echoes. "They've disappeared again," Reel said. Zytrax's mandibles clicked softly. "No, Commodore. They're still here. And when they strike again, it will not be from where we expect." He stared at the holographic projection of the battlefield, a void filled with ghosts. For the first time, the Admiral of the Concord fleet felt the faint pulse of fear. In the shadows of the expanse, Kane looked at the crimson glow of the distant star and spoke quietly to his crew. "They think we're hiding," he said. Let them believe it. He turned toward the holographic map, lines of light tracing alien formations tightening their noose. They still don't realize, he added, a faint smile ghosting across his face. We're already inside their net. Outside, 27 Terran ships prepared for their next strike, silent, unseen, and very, very human. The control chamber of the Varkal Dominion's flagship, Gorthan's Will, trembled as the data feeds came alive. Admiral Creel's dorsal spines rose one by one, each reacting to the impossible numbers scrolling before him. Confirm that, he hissed. His voice was low, measured, but every crew member felt the static of suppressed panic in the air. No projection error. Confirm the acceleration vectors. Lieutenant Orsh, his communications officer, gulped. Confirmed, Admiral. The human ships are accelerating beyond drive-safe limits. Their hull temperatures are reaching vaporization range. Creel turned. And yet they're not vaporizing. No, sir. They're enduring. He leaned closer to the holomap, watching the human fleet streak across space like arrows of molten light. The Raven-class destroyers were moving far faster than any Dominion ship could safely sustain. They should have torn apart. Yet their trajectories were sharp, precise, deliberate. How? Muttered Creel. How do their hulls not disintegrate under that stress? A voice rose from the engineering pit below. Sir, their shielding configuration is erratic. It's not constant power, it spikes unpredictably. It looks primitive. Primitive? Creel's mandibles clicked sharply. You call that primitive? Apologies, Admiral. I mean, inefficient. But effective. Creel stared for a long moment. Humans. Always breaking the known rules of physics like drunk children finding new toys to smash. He'd heard rumors, whispers from border patrols about Earth's experimental warships. He'd dismissed them as frontier exaggerations. But now, seeing the data firsthand, he realized those rumors were field reports suppressed to avoid embarrassment. Send a report to High Command, he ordered. Classification, Red Tier threat. Humanity has mastered high-stress FDL kinetics beyond Dominion limits. But, sir, Orsh interjected carefully, that will admit that we underestimated them? Creel's voice sliced through the air. Yes. Better shame now than extinction later. A murmur rippled through the bridge. Dominion officers were not known for humility, yet the fear in their eyes was unmistakable. Then came the second wave of readings. Admiral! The sensors officer shouted. New signals detected. Large-scale energy surge from the human flagship, the UNS Leviathan. Power output is. The deck lights dimmed under the sheer radiation detected across systems. The hologram flared, briefly blinding half the bridge crew. Stars preserve us, whispered Orsh. The Leviathan had deployed something new, a weapon signature unknown to Dominion archives. A sphere of contained plasma erupted from its forward bay, forming what appeared to be a miniature sun. Then, it vanished, folding in on itself before reappearing inside the Dominion's forward battle line. One moment, 5 destroyers stood firm. The next gone. Vaporized without debris. The bridge fell silent. The only sound was the pulse of warning klaxons echoing through the air. Creel's spines flattened. That wasn't a weapon, that was a displacement field. Orsh swallowed hard. Sir? They're teleporting fusion events directly into our formations. He turned eyes wide. They've weaponized micro-jump physics. He slumped into his command seat. They're using FTL as artillery. It was unthinkable. In Dominion science, faster-than-light travel was a delicate miracle, an art of balance between gravity wells and temporal cohesion. To weaponize it was lunacy. But humans, it seemed, had skipped hesitation and built madness into doctrine. Admiral orders? Creel's eyes flicked to the tactical screen, Dominion cruisers burning under invisible suns. Fall back to Vector 12. Form defensive perimeter. Prepare counter-strike coordinates. And the human advance? Creo gritted his teeth. Let them come. We'll show them the Dominion still has claws. Across the void, aboard the UNS Leviathan, Captain Rourke stood calm amid chaos. His crew moved like clockwork, faces pale but steady under the flickering blue of battle displays. "Status of the forward batteries?" he asked. "All systems green. Plasma displacement charges reloaded," said Commander Imani. "Dominion formation is scattering." "Good." Rourke's lips curved into a grim smile. "They'll think we're reckless." "Let them." Imani gave him a sharp look. "Reckless is an understatement, sir. Our fusion cores barely stabilized after that last micro jump. Another shot like that could turn us into a supernova." "I know." He leaned over the console, eyes fixed on the enemy formation. "But if we flinch now, they'll regroup. We keep the pressure." A calm ping. "Fleet command to Leviathan. Stand by for transmission." Admiral Keating's voice boomed through the bridge speakers. "Rourke, your stunt just rewrote half the tactical manual. Command's greenlighting you for direct assault. Push them out of the system." "Yes, ma'am." "We're moving." As the link cut, Imani exhaled. "You realize that means no reinforcements?" Rourke nodded. "We don't need them." He tapped a holographic control. The Leviathan's engines roared, an unholy thunder reverberating through its armored bones. Energy surged along its spine as the ship prepared for its next jump. "Punch it," Rourke ordered. The Leviathan vanished. To the Dominion fleet, it simply ceased to exist. For 3 seconds, sensors went blind. Then, it reappeared inside their rearguard, plasma cannons already firing. 3 more Dominion cruisers died in silence. "Impossible," muttered Creel as the shockwave reached his ship. "They can't just appear there. Admiral, their drive signatures are fragmented. They're splitting their ship between jump vectors." Creel's claws dug into the armrest. "You're telling me the humans are phasing through reality mid-fight?" "Yes, sir." "In segments." Creel slammed his fist into the console. "That's not physics. That's insanity." Hours blurred into chaos. The Dominion fleet scattered across orbital space, ships breaking formation to survive. Every time they recalculated human movement, the Leviathan was already elsewhere, warping physics, ignoring inertia, and breaking every fundamental rule the Dominion had spent centuries mastering. Creel's ship barely dodged a collapsing star pulse. Sparks showered from the ceiling as the crew scrambled to stabilize systems. "Retreat vector locked," shouted Orsh. "Should we disengage?" Creel hesitated. Every instinct screamed to flee. But pride, the Dominion's oldest curse, held his tongue. "No," he said finally. "We'll learn. We'll adapt. But first," his eyes hardened. "We survive." He turned to comms. "Broadcast fleet-wide, all ships, full retreat. Avoid human proximity. Do not engage." The order spread like wildfire. And for the first time in centuries, the mighty Dominion fled. Back aboard the Leviathan, Rourke watched the sensor feeds clear. The last of the enemy ships blinked out into warp. Imani leaned against her console, exhausted. "They're running." Rourke nodded slowly. "Good. Maybe next time, they'll think twice before calling humans primitive." She gave a faint smile. "We lost 6 ships to drive strain, sir. 50 lives." He exhaled softly. 50 will remember." Silence settled between them as the stars drifted past the viewscreen. The hum of the Leviathan's engine steadied again, quieter now, like the deep breath after a storm. "Send the message to Earth Command," Rourke said finally. "Victory confirmed. And tell them." He paused, eyes narrowing at the fading warp trails of the retreating fleet. "Tell them the galaxy just learned what human ships can do." The Dominion Council chamber glowed dimly in violet light. Its circular walls, smooth and pulsing with biometal veins, were built to evoke calm authority. But calm was nowhere to be found. The air vibrated with unease as admirals, warlords, and planetary delegates filled the seats in uneasy silence. Admiral Creel stood at the center platform, the hollow sphere above him replaying fragments of the battle. The Leviathan's image flickered, appearing, vanishing, and reappearing amid the Dominion fleet like a phantom tearing through their ranks. When the final ship disintegrated in a silent blaze, the chamber went still. Creel's voice carried low but steady. "That, my lords, is what we faced in the Epsilon Rift. One human vessel annihilated half our formation. The rest withdrew under emergency warp." The murmurs began at once. Disbelief. Outrage. Fear. Counselor Varth slammed his claws on the table. "One ship cannot do that! Fabrication!" Creel's gaze cut to him. "I commanded the fleet. I saw it. Their flagship tore space itself open. Our sensors caught gravitational anomalies consistent with microwarp weaponization." Another counselor hissed. "Impossible. Warp instability would destroy them." Creel nodded grimly. "That was our belief too. The humans proved otherwise." Silence fell again, thicker this time. The word humans echoed like a curse. For centuries, they had been dismissed as a late-blooming species, brash and primitive, barely worthy of mention in Dominion archives. Yet now, they had done what every empire had deemed suicidal, turning faster-than-light travel into a weapon. A soft mechanical hum drew attention as the Dominion High Chancellor, Viroike, leaned forward. His long mandibles twitched in restrained fury. "Admiral Creel, you suggest the Terrans have achieved mastery beyond our own drive physics. Explain how a young race accomplished this while the Dominion has studied it for millennia." Creel's spines tightened. "They ignore limits. They test by destruction, not calculation. When our scientists reach a dead end, they turn back. Humans break the wall." The chamber rippled with disapproval, but the Admiral pressed on. "I've studied their history. Every major technological leap began as disaster. Nuclear fire. Artificial intelligence collapses. Planetary wars. They learn through catastrophe. Their resilience isn't logical, it's pathological." "Pathological or not," the Chancellor growled, "we cannot allow this imbalance. Their existence threatens order." Creel bowed slightly. "Agreed. But you cannot fight them conventionally. Their ships bend laws we hold sacred. We must learn their methods or prepare for extinction." The Chancellor's mandibles quivered. "Then you propose espionage?" "Espionage. Infiltration. Observation. Whatever it takes." Viroike rose. His shadow loomed long across the polished floor. "Do it. But if they strike again, we retaliate with everything. No species challenges Dominion supremacy and lives." Creel hesitated. "Permission to speak freely?" "Granted." The Admiral straightened, voice iron steady. "If we fight them again, Chancellor, it will not be supremacy at stake. It will be survival." 3 months later, lunar orbit, Sol system. The UNS Leviathan floated in drydock, surrounded by scaffolds and drones like a sleeping titan being rebuilt. Earth's fleet engineers worked tirelessly, patching hull fractures left by the last battle. Inside, the corridors buzzed with quiet purpose. Captain Rourke walked alongside Commander Imani through the central deck. The ship felt almost peaceful now, though the memory of combat still lingered in every dented wall. "Drive coil replacements are ahead of schedule," Imani reported. "Command wants to push for a fleet retrofit, using Leviathan's prototype systems as the new standard." Rourke raised an eyebrow. "So they're going to replicate madness on an industrial scale?" She smirked faintly. "That's humanity's brand, sir." They reached the observation bay overlooking Earth. The blue marble hung in the void, small, fragile, yet proud. Rourke leaned on the railing. "We just stepped into the deep end of the galaxy, Imani. You think they'll let us be? After what we did? Not a chance. The Dominion's wounded pride is worse than its military losses." He nodded, eyes hardening. "Then we need to make sure our next fight doesn't end with us learning the hard way. Command's aware. They're building 2 more Leviathans." Rourke gave a slow whistle. "That'll keep the neighbors nervous." Before she could answer, the bridge comm chimed. "Captain, priority transmission from Earth Command. They moved to the nearest console. The hollow screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Keating's stern face. Rourke, we intercepted encoded transmissions, Dominion signals bouncing through civilian channels. They're watching us. He exchanged a look with Imani. Spies? Most likely. We've already quarantined several ships near Mars' orbit. We suspect they've deployed observation drones disguised as debris. The brass wants the Leviathan on high alert. Understood, Rourke said. We'll sweep the outer perimeter. And Admiral, if they're testing us again? Keating's lips tightened. Then we remind them the first time wasn't luck. The connection cut. Rourke stared at the darkened screen. They're not done with us. Imani crossed her arms. Neither are we with them. Far beyond the Sol frontier. Creel stood aboard a smaller vessel now, his fleet reduced, his pride scarred. The Dominion spy array hovered before him, feeding visual data from hidden probes near Earth's orbital stations. Human ships glittered against the sunlight, their hulls emblazoned with the same reckless defiance that had humiliated his armada. A young officer approached cautiously. Admiral, the Council demands progress. Have you learned how they manipulate warp space? Creel's claws clicked slowly against the metal railing. Not yet. Their technology isn't elegant. It's brutal. They don't stabilize the field, they ride it. Like a creature holding onto a storm. Then it's suicidal. Exactly. Creel turned, eyes narrowing. And that's why it works. No Dominion scientist would dare attempt such imbalance. To humans, danger isn't deterrent, it's motivation. The officer hesitated. Then what do we do, sir? Creel looked back at the holographic Earth, floating serene in space. We adapt. Or we perish. He paused, studying the Leviathan schematics they'd managed to intercept, fragmented, incomplete, yet terrifyingly advanced. Begin a counter-project. Covertly. I want a vessel that can match theirs. Something that bends physics without breaking us. The officer nodded hesitantly. And if the Council forbids it? Creel's voice dropped to a whisper. Then we build it in secret. Dominion politics won't save us from human physics. Back on the Leviathan, Rourke stood once more on the bridge as Earth rotated below. The hum of repaired systems filled the air, a promise of readiness. Imani approached with a data pad. Our long-range sensors picked up faint signatures, no matching ID. You think it's them? He studied the readings. Probably. Testing the edges again. What's the play? Rourke's expression hardened. We show them we see them. He turned to the tactical officer. Lock onto those coordinates. Don't fire, just light them up. Let them know they're not invisible here. Moments later, the Leviathan's sensor beams flared, a silent signal across space. The hidden Dominion probes flickered and vanished. Imani exhaled. Think they got the message? Rourke watched the stars. Oh, they got it. And they'll send one back soon enough. He straightened, his voice calm but firm. When they do, we'll be ready. Because the universe just realized something it can't unlearn. He glanced out toward the endless dark, the faint glimmer of far-off stars. Humanity isn't the weakest link anymore. We're the variable no one can predict. He turned, the faintest hint of a smile ghosting across his face. And that terrifies them. The Leviathan's engines rumbled, echoing through its hull like the heartbeat of a giant awakening. Out there, beyond the thin line of Sol's edge, empires whispered and recalculated. The rules of war had changed. And at the center of it all, one small, defiant world dared to rewrite the cosmos.